India observed Parakram Divas on Monday to mark the 126th birth anniversary of country's great freedom fighter Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. India's President Draupadi Murmu paid homage to Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose on the occasion of Parakram Divas. In a message, she said, Netaji epitomizes exceptional courage and patriotism, and his leadership encouraged millions to join the country's freedom struggle. Vice President of India, Jagdeep Dhankar, also paid tribute to Netaji. He appealed to recommit to build an India that Netaji envisioned. On the occasion, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi named the 21 largest unnamed islands of Andaman and Nicobar after country's highest gallantry award winners. The Prime Minister attended the event held at Port Blair through video conferencing. He also unveiled the model of National Memorial dedicated to Netaji. The memorial will be built on Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose Dweep in Port Blair. It will consist of Netaji's museum, heritage trail, ropeway connected to Port Blair, and a children's park. Speaking on the occasion, the Indian Prime Minister stated that a new history is being written today, as the nation celebrates Parakram Divas, marking 126th birth anniversary of country's great freedom fighter Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. Mr. Modi said it will be an inspiration for the coming generations. The Prime Minister said the government recognized the great valor and supreme sacrifices of India's brave soldiers, for whom nation first is the only motto. The naming of islands have deep messages like Ek Bharat, Shreshtha Bharat, eternity of sacrifices made by Indian soldiers, and great valor of Indian Army.
अंडमान निकोबार के द्वीपों का ये नामकरण उन परमवीर चक्र विजेताओं का सम्मान तो है ही, साथ ही भारतीय सेनाओं का भी सम्मान है। पूरब से पश्चिम, उत्तर से दक्षिण, दूर सुदूर, समंदर हो या पहाड़, इलाका निर्जन हो या दुर्गम, देश की सेनाएं देश के कण कण की रक्षा में तैनात रहती।
Home Minister Amit Shah was also present at the event. Speaking on the occasion, he said that Prime Minister Narendra Modi's initiative to name islands after Paramveer Chakra awardees will ensure they are remembered forever. Andaman and Nicobar Lieutenant Governor Admiral D.K. Joshi and Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan were also present at the event. President of India Draupadi Murmu on Monday conferred this year's National Bravery Awards on 11 children at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi. The awards were given to children for their exceptional achievement in 6 categories, which include art, culture, bravery, innovation, social science, service and sports. Each awardee has received a medal, a cash prize of 1 lakh rupees and a certificate from the President. Speaking at the event, President Murmu said these awards are a recognition of their contribution and dedication to the country. The President said that she is amazed to see the remarkable work done by these children at this tender age. She added, these children are a source of inspiration to many others as well.
आज पुरस्कार प्राप्त करने वाले बच्चों को मैं विशेष बधाई देती हूँ। बच्चे हमारे देश की अमूल्य निधि है। बच्चों के भविष्य निर्माण के लिए किया गया हर प्रयास समाज और देश का भविष्य संवारता है। हम सभी को बच्चों की सुरक्षित और खुशहाल बचपन तथा स्वर्णिम भविष्य के लिए हर संभव प्रयास करना चाहिए। बच्चों को पुरस्कृत करके हम राष्ट्र निर्माण में उनके योगदान को प्रोत्साहित और सम्मानित कर रहे हैं।
Speaking on the occasion, India's Minister for Women and Child Development Smriti Irani lauded the children for their exceptional abilities and outstanding achievements. The minister said, today the children who have got these awards represent a new way of social upliftment. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will interact with Pradhan Mantri Rashtriya Bal Puraskar awardees on Tuesday at his residence in New Delhi. The Indian Army has said that indigenously developed equipment like Arjun Tank, Nag Missile System, K9 Vajra and Akash Weapon System under the Self-Reliant India Initiative will be showcased during the Republic Day Parade on the 26th of January at Kartavya Path. While briefing the media in New Delhi on Monday, the Indian Army said 8 marching contingents, including 6 from the Indian Army, 1 from Indian Air Force and 1 from Indian Navy, will take part in the Republic Day Parade. It said Mechanized Infantry, Dogra Regiment, Punjab Regiment, Maratha Light Infantry, Bihar Regiment and Gorkha Brigade will participate in the parade. And now in today's Hotspot section, we bring you a news commentary on India's journey as a republic.
The 75th anniversary celebrations of our independence, Amrit Mahotsav, has culminated and has now ushered in Amrit Kal era of our independence. The nation is celebrating Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose's 126th birth anniversary today as part of the 74th Republic Day Gala. India in the last 7 decades has achieved several new milestones. Our republic is aspirational, tech-savvy and willing to take on new challenges. It thus captures the spirit of India's togetherness. As the first president, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, said, our constitution is a democratic instrument seeking to ensure to individual citizens the freedoms which are so invaluable. But the Republic Day, to quote eminent philosopher and the second president of India, Dr. Sarvepalli Radhakrishnan, is also an opportunity for self-examination, for a searching of hearts. We may ask, has India's 7-decade-long journey given us the republic of our dreams? While we need to ponder over this poser, one thing is clear, that India has come thus far thanks to our incredible optimism, imagination and collective dreaming. After the 1787 Constitutional Convention, a group of American citizens asked Benjamin Franklin, one of the founding fathers of the United States of America, what sort of government has been created. He replied, a republic if you can keep it. The same is true of the Indian Republic. One may create a republic, but that becomes one by creating institutional architecture and institutional plumbing. This is precisely what India has done by becoming quite inventive. But challenges remain. India proved wrong the prophets of doom in the West, thereby becoming a model for other newly independent countries. India kept the banner of democracy aloft when most newly independent states fell perilously into the hands of the military. That prompted Bernard Levin, London Times columnist, to say, if democracy in India falls, the end of democracy itself will be in sight. How did India do it? India demonstrated to the world how democracy and development go together. While East Asian countries believed that a country must first become economically fit for democracy, India insisted that a country must become economically fit through democracy. India is a perfect example of how living and dreaming democracy helps recreate democracy, and that a democracy that believes in itself renews itself. Building democracy is like searching for truth. The search for truth is like digging for gold. You wash the nugget under the tap and you have the full value of the gold. India's all-round development has been through small steps, not political evangelism or grandstanding, but by sharing her best practices with the wider world and building capacity of its people. Being a civilizational state has helped in this task. India is a huge, boisterous nation bursting with optimism for the future. India's growing economic significance has lent weight to her international profile. India's cultural and spiritual influence has grown, so has its soft power, including yoga and its culinary and cultural diversities. Today, India is an emerging great power with game-changing capabilities. Unlike China's rise, which causes apprehensions, the world takes a benign view of India's rise on the global stage. The economy is India's global calling card. India is also engaged in global burden sharing. Development partnership today is a key instrument of India's foreign policy. India is fast catching up with China in extending credit to build infrastructure and push economic ventures. India has signed 250 agreements covering space exploration, human space flight, and joint experiments with 59 countries. India's vaccine diplomacy, that was led brilliantly by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, is another feather in its cap. While India has sent peacekeeping forces across the world on issues like climate change, India is largely seen as part of the solution. India's rise has been transformative. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, the stature of India in world affairs has rapidly risen. Whether it is G20 or BRICS forums, Quad or summits on climate change, or on issues relating to international financial architecture, India's voice counts more than ever before. From a balancing power on the global scene, India has become a leading global player. India believes there will be convergence with many, but congruence with none. Indian diplomacy today is swift-footed and flexible, and its grand strategy is defined by multi-alignment. India has many challenges to surmount, but as Prime Minister Modi says, India's will to become a leader amongst the Committee of Nations is achievable. It can be confidently surmised that 7 decades of India's republican journey has been a voyage of discovery, which consists not only seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes. In the years to come, India will march ahead with new beliefs firmly anchored in her strong civilizational roots.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news. The 5th Kalvari-class submarine Vagir was commissioned into the Indian Navy today. Chief of the Naval Staff Admiral R. Hari Kumar was the chief guest at a ceremony held at Naval Dockyard in Mumbai. Submarine has been built by the Mazagon Dock Shipbuilders Limited MDL Mumbai under collaboration with Naval Group of France. 4 of the Kalvari class of submarines have already been commissioned into the Indian Navy. Speaking on the occasion, the Navy chief said Vagir will boost the Indian Navy's capability to further India's maritime interests.
Vagir will be the 3rd submarine inducted into the Navy in a short span of 24 months. And this is no small achievement and underscores the coming of age of India's shipbuilding industry and the maturing of our defense ecosystem. The commissioning ceremony today is yet another reaffirmation of the synergy that exists between our organizations in our common goal of pursuing Atmanirbharta.
Vagir is capable of undertaking diverse missions, including anti-surface warfare, anti-submarine warfare, intelligence gathering, mine-laying and surveillance missions. India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has said that former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee had a very nuanced and developed understanding of the contemporary world and helped India transform its relationship with the United States. Dr. Jaishankar said this at the 3rd Atal Bihari Vajpayee Memorial Lecture in New Delhi on Monday. He said Vajpayee transformed India's relationship with the United States in the post-Cold War environment after recognizing how important that relationship had become for India nationally and internationally. Dr. Jaishankar said that everybody knows Vajpayee as one of the country's great prime ministers. He said Vajpayee imparted continuity and stability to India's ties with Russia. The United States has launched several new initiatives and schemes to reduce delays in visa processing in India. In order to reduce the wait time for all Indian applicants for the country, the US has decided to increase visa processing capacity across India through initiatives such as scheduling special interviews for the first-time applicants and increasing the strength of consular staff in the country. The US in a statement said, as part of the multi-pronged approach to cut the visa backlog, the US Embassy in Delhi and the consulates in Mumbai, Chennai, Kolkata and Hyderabad on the 21st of this month conducted the first in a series of special Saturday interview days, as part of larger effort to reduce wait times for first-time visa applicants. The mission will continue to open additional slots for appointments to take place on select Saturdays in the coming months to address the backlog in visa processing caused by COVID-19. The official release said remote interview waivers will be conducted for those Indians who are not first-time US visa applicants. Further, additional slots will also be set up in several areas to speed up the process of allocation of the visa. Between January and March this year, dozens of temporary consular officers from Washington and other embassies will arrive in India to increase visa processing capacity. Apart from this, the US mission has decided to release more than 250,000 additional B1 or B2 appointments, with B1 being a business visa and B2 being a tourism visa. India's Chief Election Commissioner Rajiv Kumar has said that a disturbing trend of deep fake narratives have become a common feature in elections worldwide. He said the disruptive elements attempt to alter public perception and mislead the user by repetitively presenting the deep fakes as fact. Mr. Kumar was speaking at inauguration of a 2-day international conference on the theme Use of Technology in Elections Integrity in New Delhi today. The World Economic Forum WEF has recognized the need to enumerate women's participation in local government bodies in the Gender Gap Report. In a tweet, India's Women and Child Development Minister Smriti Irani, who pressed for it during the recent WEF meetings at Davos, said this is a big victory for 1.4 million grassroots women locally elected at the panchayat level in India. She said the WEF also confirmed its willingness to study India's gender budget system. The minister added that it is a huge acknowledgement of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's efforts to ensure women-led development. Sources said India has made an economic case for gender justice by implementing various welfare measures for women. The Business 20 or B20 inception meeting, which is being held as part of the G20, began at Gandhinagar in Gujarat on Monday. Indian ministers Piyush Goyal and Ashnavi Vaishnav, Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, India Sherpa for the G20 Amitabh Kant, Tata Sons Chairman N. Chandrasekharan and a host of national and international business leaders attended the inaugural meeting. Addressing the session, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said the Indian economy has grown by 12 times during the last 3 decades. He said India is among the top 5 best performing nations in achieving the climate targets and is the only G20 country to get this place. The minister reiterated India's commitment to create a sustainable and inclusive growth environment. He urged global businesses and industries to adopt green and sustainable business practices. Mr. Goyal said that India wishes to inspire the world to have greater degrees of dialogue and concern for the planet and the future of our children.
And India which unshackles the colonial past, but recognizing the strong strength, will work with the collective energy of 1.4 billion people, working with a sense of duty, unity and integrity as one nation, with a collective agenda to take prosperity to 1.4 billion people and improve the lives of every person in the country.
India's Minister of Railways Ashnavi Vaishnav briefed about the best economic practices India adopted during the COVID pandemic, which helped the country achieve robust growth with moderate inflation. The minister stressed on the success of the PPP model in popularizing digital payments in India. He said the annual digital transactions in India today stand at $1.5 trillion. More than 500 delegates, including more than 200 international business representatives, deliberated upon various global issues including climate change, sustainability, digital transformation and financial inclusion during several plenary sessions organized today. 7 task forces and 2 action groups have been formed as part of the meet to deliberate upon various global issues including climate change, sustainability, digital transformation and financial inclusion. For the first time, there will be a special task force for Africa in the meet. The Sensex and the Nifty on Monday witnessed gains of 0.5%. A report from the business desk.
The Sensex climbed 320 points to finish at 60,942. The Nifty 50 also rose 91 points to settle at 18,119. Among global stock markets, Asian shares ended with gains. Hong Kong's Hang Seng surged 1.8%, Japan's Nikkei 225 gained 1.3%, and China's Shanghai Composite Index added 0.8%. South Korea's Kospi rose 0.6%, and Singapore's Straits Times ended 0.5% up. European shares were up in intraday trade. Oil prices rose to $88 a barrel, extending last week's gain on the back of a stronger outlook due to an expected economic recovery in the top oil importer China this year. In intraday trade, Brent crude was trading at $88.35 per barrel. Back home at the multi-commodity exchange, gold futures were trading at 56,765 rupees per 10 grams for February futures. Silver futures for March were trading at 68,600 rupees per kilogram when reports last came in. V. Ravi Kumar for World News, All India Radio.
In Sri Lanka, headline inflation based on the National Consumer Price Index remains high at 59.2% for the month of December last year. Sri Lanka's Department of Census and Statistics reported that the inflation eased from 65% in November 2022. Meanwhile, food inflation showed a marked decrease by over 10 percentage points to 59.3%. Sri Lanka has been fighting runaway inflation since last year amidst its worst ever economic crisis since its independence. Russia and Estonia on Monday expelled the ambassadors from each other's countries in a tit-for-tat move, saying that their diplomatic missions will be headed by Charges d'Affaires. The Russian Foreign Ministry summoned Estonian ambassador Margus Leider and ordered him to leave the country by the 7th of February. The ministry in the statement said that Estonia's diplomatic representation from now on will be downgraded to a Charge d'Affaires that heads the European Union country's mission in Moscow. Russia said that the move was made in retaliation to Estonia's new unfriendly step to radically reduce the size of the Russian embassy in Tallinn. In response, Estonian Foreign Minister Urmas Reinsalu said the Russian ambassador will leave on the 7th of next month as well, in accordance with the principle of parity. The Estonian Foreign Ministry earlier this month ordered Russia to reduce the number of its embassy staff to 8 diplomats and 15 administrative, technical and service staff members in order to reach parity in embassy staff by 1st of February. Estonia has reduced its bilateral relations with Moscow to the absolute minimum since the start of the Russia-Ukraine conflict. The Russian Foreign Ministry said on Monday that the Estonian leadership has purposefully destroyed the entire range of relations with Russia. Pakistan suffered nationwide power outages this morning due to a major breakdown of the national grid. Outages were reported in Islamabad, Karachi, Lahore and Peshawar, affecting factories, hospitals and schools. The Power Ministry issued a statement saying that the work was ongoing to revive the system. Pakistan's power sector is under heavy debt and inadequate investment in the infrastructure has resulted in frequent breakdowns in the power grid. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has said his country is on the brink of not being able to function as a society because of its falling birth rate. He said it was a case of now or never. Birth rates are slowing in many countries, including Japan's neighbors. But the issue is particularly acute in Japan as life expectancy has risen in recent decades, meaning there are a growing number of older people and a declining number of workers to support them. According to World Bank data, Japan now has the world's second highest proportion of people aged 65 years and about 28% above 65 years of age after the tiny state of Monaco. Talking to lawmakers in a policy address marking the start of a new parliament session, Prime Minister Kishida said, Japan, with a population of 125 million people, is estimated to have had fewer than 8 lakh births last year. In the 1970s, that figure was more than 2 million. Japan Prime Minister said, focusing attention on policies regarding children and child rearing is an issue that cannot wait and cannot be postponed. He said that he eventually wants the government to double its spending on child-related programs. He pledged to address the issue by establishing a new government agency in April. In Democratic Republic of Congo, terrorists from the notorious Allied Democratic Forces group killed at least 23 people in a raid on a village on Sunday night. The customary chief of the area said they were attacked last night in the village of Mukungwe in Beni territory by the Allied Democratic Forces. In men's cricket, the third and the final one-day international between India and New Zealand takes place at Indore tomorrow. The match will be played in Holkar Cricket Stadium from 1:30 p.m. India will look to clean sweep the series, having already won the 2 ODIs. India secured a comprehensive 8-wicket win in the second ODI in Raipur on Saturday to clinch their 7th consecutive ODI series at home. In the FIH Hockey Men's World Cup, in a massive upset, South Korea thrashed Argentina 3-2 in penalty shootout after a 5-5 draw in regulation time in the second crossover match of the day at Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. With the win, South Korea ensured that there will be at least one Asian team in the quarterfinals of this tournament. Korea will take on the Netherlands in the final 8 fixture on Wednesday. In the first crossover match of the day, Germany entered the quarterfinals, defeating France 5-1 at Kalinga Stadium in Bhubaneswar. Germany will meet England in the last 8 on Wednesday. In Australian Open tennis, Indian pair of Sania Mirza and Rohan Bopanna advanced to the mixed doubles quarterfinals on Monday. The Indian pair defeated the Uruguayan and Japanese pair of Ariel Behar and Makato Ninomiya 6-4, 7-6 on court 7. Mirza and Bopanna will now lock horns with Latvian and Spanish duo of Yelena Ostapenko and David Vega Hernandez in their last 8 fixture tomorrow. In men's single, 4th seed Novak Djokovic sailed into the quarterfinals, brushing past home favorite 22nd seed Alex de Minaur on Rod Laver Arena. With the win, the Serbian moved a step closer to a 10th title at Melbourne Park and 22nd major crown. Djokovic will meet 5th seed Andrei Rublev for a semi-final berth after the Russian toppled Danish teen Holger Rune after a 10-6-3, 3-6, 6-3, 4-6, 7-6 contest in the 4th round. In the other matches of the day, debutant Ben Shelton pulled out a victory over J.J. Wolf in an All-American match up in John Cain Arena. 89th ranked Sheldon meets yet another unseeded American 35th ranked Tommy Paul, who eliminated 24th seeded Roberto Bautista Agut of Spain 6-2, 4-6, 6-2, 7-5 on Monday. Shanghai Cooperation Organization SCO Film Festival will be held from the 27th to the 31st of this month in Mumbai. Addressing a press conference in New Delhi today, Additional Secretary in Information and Broadcasting Ministry Neeraja Shekhar said 57 films will be screened during the SCO Film Festival. She said the film festival aims to build cinematic partnerships and act as a bridge between the cultures of various countries in the SCO. It will also create synergies in the film fraternity of SCO members by way of collective cinematic experience. Now let us take a look at the major developments around the world as reported in the foreign press. The Straits Times writes Biden to name Jeff Zients as Chief of Staff, says Washington Post. The Global Times writes Chinese submersible reaches deepest point of Diamantina Trench, making history. The Financial Times writes EU to examine seizing confiscated Russian assets for reconstruction. The Guardian also writes Kenya declares war on millions of birds after they raid crops. The New York Times writes Germany's reluctance on tanks stems from its history and its politics. Le Monde writes Poland to ask Germany for permission to send tanks to Ukraine, and the Japan Times writes despite crackdown, Iran protesters still challenging regime. Now a quick look at the headlines once again. India names 21 islands of Andaman and Nicobar after country's highest gallantry award winners on the birth anniversary of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose. President of India Draupadi Murmu confers National Bravery Awards upon 11 children. Indian Army to showcase indigenously developed equipment at Republic Day Parade. 5th Kalvari class submarine INS Wagir inducted into Indian Navy. US launches new initiative to speed up visa processing for Indians. Russia and Estonia expel the ambassadors from each other's countries. In Australian Open Tennis, Indian pair of Sania Mirza and Rohan Bopanna advanced to mixed doubles quarterfinals, and in men's cricket, third and final ODI between India and New Zealand to be played at Indore tomorrow. And now, before we end, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Jan, by artists from Sri Lanka.
पर दुखे उपकार करे तो ये मन अभिमान नारे रे वैष्णव जन तो तेने कहिए जे पीर पराई जाने रे सकल लोकनाय सहुने
And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.